Let me tell you something real. The world doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't care how exhausted you are, how many times you've been betrayed, how often you've been overlooked, underestimated, or pushed aside. Life doesn't hand out mercy just because you're hurting. But here's the truth. You were never created to blend in. You were built to stand out. And if you want to survive in this world, if you want to conquer in this world, you'd better learn how to outthink it. You'd better learn how to outsmart it. I'm not talking about manipulation. I'm not talking about being sneaky or ruthless. I'm talking about moving differently, thinking sharper, living wiser. That level of understanding that's forged through scars, through nights where you cried alone, through days when the only thing you had left was hope in a spine forged in fire. You want absolute dominance? You want to walk into a room and know with certainty that no one can play you? Then lean in, because I'm about to give you 5 rules that will rewire your life completely. 5 truths that separate the forgotten from the iconic. And if you live by these, you'll never be anyone's pawn again. Rule number 1, control your emotions before they dominate you. Let me ask you something deep. How many times have you lost something meaningful? A relationship, a chance, your own dignity, not because of what someone else did, but because of how you reacted. Be honest with yourself. Emotions are powerful, no doubt, but left unchecked, they become toxic. A man who can't control his rage, his fear, his insecurity, he becomes a puppet, not a leader. Life pulls those strings. People pull those strings, and before he knows it, he's dancing to a rhythm he never chose. But the one who commands his emotions, that's a dangerous soul. That's a man who's seen hurricanes and still walks like the sun exists solely for him. You've got to get to a place where you feel everything, but you respond to nothing unless it's on your terms. Control doesn't mean shutting off. It means choosing wisely. It means refusing to let someone's ignorance drag you into chaos. You don't answer every bark. You're the lion. Lions don't flinch when the small dogs bark. You don't plead your worth to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You don't allow someone's bitterness to shape your mindset. If someone disrespects you, you observe, you calculate, and you respond only when it's worth it, if it's even worth it at all. Because when emotions run your actions, you give away your power. That's what average people do. But you are not average. You're not here to be obvious. You're here to rise, to lead, to conquer, without losing your inner stillness. You ever notice how the most dangerous people in a room are often the calmest? That's not by accident. Stillness is a weapon. Composure is power. While others flail with raw emotion, throwing punches without aim, you remain grounded, watching, learning, striking only when the moment is perfect. The loudest one in the room? Rarely the most powerful. But the one sitting still, listening, studying the energy, that's the one you'd better not ignore. Be that person. People should never know what shakes you. Never let your face broadcast your intentions. That's how you outmaneuver the manipulators, the critics, the backstabbers. Stay composed. Your silence during chaos will scream louder than 1,000 words. Emotions are natural, but they were never meant to be your master. Anger, envy, fear, those are signals, not steering wheels. If you let them drive, they'll take you straight into regret. So what do? You train. You learn to breathe before you speak. You observe before you act. You develop the ability to delay reaction until your mind, not your feelings, makes the call. You turn emotion into energy, not into fire. You convert your pain into purpose. You turn your letdowns into strategy. And when someone attempts to provoke you, you whisper to yourself, I control this moment. I choose how this ends. That right there, that's where true power is born. Let me let you in on something real. Real strength, that's self-control. That's why it's rare. It's easier to explode than to stay calm. It's easier to throw punches than to walk away from a battle you'd regret. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean you become passive. It means you're wise enough to pick your battles. It means you know what deserves your energy and what doesn't. Most of what angers you, not worth it. Most of what lets you down, just life, redirecting you. And if you're too deep in your feelings, you'll miss the message, and you repeat the error. It's not just about avoiding conflict. It's about moving toward your purpose with a clear, focused mind. Because when you're ruled by emotion, your clarity is gone. You can't spot opportunities. You can't make sharp decisions. You'll trust the wrong ones, say the wrong things, destroy bridges you might need later. But when your mind is clear, when your spirit is steady, you become untouchable. You move through storms like it's a summer breeze. People throw dirt and you grow from it. They underestimate you and you let their doubt become your disguise. Because emotional discipline, that's how power moves get made, in silence. If someone can press your buttons, they own your actions. If they can provoke your rage, they can pull you off course. If they know what triggers your doubt, they can manipulate your life. And if they can influence your life, you're not in control. You're not leading, you're dancing to their rhythm. That's not power. That's emotional bondage. So start asking the real question, who's actually in charge? You or your scars, your fear, your ego? Get in the driver's seat of your own emotional world. Because you can't lead others, can't guard what's yours, can't win at life if you're imprisoned by every emotion that knocks on your door. I'm not saying this from some perfect place. I'm telling you from experience. You're going to want to react. You'll feel like yelling, swinging, proving your point. But the higher you rise, the more chaos you'll face, the more foolishness that will come for your crown. That's why your mind must become stronger than your emotions. You've got to sit in discomfort without letting it break you. You have to shed the need to always be understood, liked, praised. Sometimes you'll have to walk away in silence, even when your ego wants to roar. Sometimes you'll have to be the bigger soul, even when your pride wants to burn everything in sight. That's what warriors do, and you, my friend, you were born for battle. But your battlefield, it starts in your mind. So if you want to outmaneuver anyone, begin by outwitting yourself. Outsmart your anger, outsmart your pride. Outsmart the part of you that craves revenge when what you truly want is peace. Your legacy won't be built on how loud you shouted. It'll be built on how well you ruled over you. So control your emotions. Never let them run your life. That isn't just the first law of total dominance, it's the bedrock every other principle stands on. Get this locked in, and the world will never, ever play you again. Next, learn everything. Speak little. Let me reveal something most people don't understand until it's too late. Power isn't earned by volume. It's earned through knowledge. There's something sacred about silence, something powerful, something undeniable. In a world where everyone is desperate to be noticed, to prove their worth, to be seen, the one who speaks the least often holds the most force. The world doesn't respect noise, it respects wisdom. And wisdom doesn't scream, it whispers. Walk into a room and speak only when it counts. And watch how people lean in. Because when you speak sparingly, every word hits deeper. But before you open your mouth, make sure you're saying something worth hearing. Learn everything. Study people, watch for the patterns, read the energy, analyze the game. Then, say less. Because the one who knows the most and reveals the least is always the most dangerous. Every unnecessary word, it's a leak, a giveaway, a clue to your thoughts, your fears, your next step. People listen more than you think. They examine your words, they twist them, they weaponize them. But if you master your tongue, if your words are precise, sharp, calculated, you remain untouchable. You keep your enemies puzzled, your allies intrigued, and your peace intact. It's not about being mysterious, it's about being intentional. You become lethal in your silence, because no one can block a move they don't see, no one can control what they can't understand, and no one can manipulate a mind they can't read. Make your silence louder than their distractions. Life's a constant classroom. Every encounter, every failure, every conversation, it's a teacher. But if you're too busy talking, trying to be heard, trying to impress, you'll miss it. The most intelligent people in any room, they're not trying to shine. They're analyzing, quietly, carefully. You want to outsmart anyone? Then you need to know more than they assume you do and speak less than they expect. That's how you move in silence and strike with force. Let them misjudge you. Let them believe your quietness comes from ignorance. Let them grow comfortable That's exactly where your strength begins. In a world obsessed with noise, silence must be backed by deep, relentless learning. You've got to read the books they're ignoring. Ask the questions they're not brave enough to ask. Watch what they overlook. Be obsessed with understanding people, systems, psychology, money, conflict, peace, success, and failure. Knowledge becomes your shield, your weapon, and your compass. But the more you absorb, the less you feel the urge to speak, because your certainty starts to live in your clarity, not in your volume. Ever notice how the most impactful moves are the ones no one anticipates? That's because the people making those moves aren't broadcasting them. They're learning, planning, executing, all in silence. While others make noise about plans they'll never finish, the wise are already 10 steps into action. Don't be the person who talks about what they're working on. Be the one who shows results with no explanation. Don't declare your ambitions. Reveal them through action. Don't describe your mindset. Live it. The loud need attention. The wise already carry assurance. When you commit to learning more and speaking less, you preserve the most valuable resource you have. Understand this: every word you release has a cost. It costs your time, your focus, sometimes even your edge. It can cost you leverage. The more people know about your inner workings, the easier it becomes for them to weaponize that insight. The less you say, the harder it becomes for anyone to figure you out. You must guard your thoughts like you guard your home. You wouldn't leave your front door wide open for anyone to walk in, so why do you throw your plans, your dreams, your next steps out into the open for the world to poke, twist, and diminish? Protect your inner world. Speak only when your words hold weight. Speak when they're carved with purpose. And when you do speak, let it be with precision, calm, and unshakable confidence. That's how true leaders communicate. That's how kings and queens navigate. Most people mistake talking for power, but speech only holds power when it's driven by substance, by discipline, by presence. Without those things, it's just noise, and noise fades quickly. You want to rule your world? Learn everything. Speak selectively. Be so well-versed that your silence alone becomes intimidating. Be so surgical with your language that your few words strike deeper than entire speeches. Be so mentally honed that people turn to you not for gossip, but for guidance. And above all, do not let the volume of the world rush you into exposing your process. Patience is part of your strategy. Learning is part of your victory. Every second you spend listening instead of speaking is a moment you're growing, stronger, wiser, more prepared. While they talk, you evolve. So when you enter a room, carry yourself like someone who knows far more than they ever reveal. Don't scramble to prove yourself. Don't chase validation. The world might not grasp your worth right away, and that's okay. Because when you finally speak, your words will shift the atmosphere. And when you finally act, your actions will leave a mark. Keep learning, keep sharpening your mind, speak less, listen more. Because in the end, the quiet student becomes the master. The silent one becomes the storm. And the one who learns everything while saying almost nothing? Until it's already too late. Move with precision, not permission. There comes a time when you must understand that waiting for approval is the very chain holding you back. You keep hoping someone will see your value, open a door, extend a hand, but truthfully, no one's coming to give you the green light. You have to seize it for yourself. You must operate as if the opportunity is already yours, as if the moment has already been handed to you, signed, sealed, and delivered. Power doesn't belong to the hesitant. Power doesn't reward the ones looking around for applause or consensus. It belongs to those who study the terrain, hone their skills, and step forward with sharp purpose. Precision over permission. That's the mindset of those who rise. You don't beg the world to let you shine. You show the world what brilliance looks like. You were not made to plead. You weren't built to wait at the back until someone calls your name. When you move with precision, you don't chase, you select. You act with purpose, not from panic. You don't look around for someone to signal go because you've already decided. The race belongs to you. Think about how many lives never ignite because the person behind them was still waiting for someone else to tell them they were ready. And winners, they prepare in solitude. They strategize when no one's watching. They fail, recalibrate, refine, and when they show up, they're not seeking entry, they're claiming space. The world always makes room for the person who walks with certainty. Treat your life like a mission, and missions don't need approval. When a pilot takes off, they don't poll the passengers for consensus. They follow their training, follow their course, and they ascend with certainty. That's exactly how you've got to move through life. No more delays, no more doubt, no more waiting to be told you're enough. Begin walking like the path is already beneath you. Speak like your voice deserves to be heard. Decide like your dreams carry weight, because every time you wait for someone to hand you permission, you surrender your authority. And once authority is given up, it's not easy to reclaim. But when you move with precision, you retain control. You lead. You decide. You direct. Let me be clear, precision is not recklessness. It's not a rush. It's calculated, measured action. It's having done the work long before anyone sees your name. It's failure, rebirth, resilience behind closed doors. So when your moment comes, you don't need cheers. You don't need cameras. You're already aligned. You're not stepping forward for applause. You're stepping forward because you were born ready. That kind of power doesn't scream. It commands. Your silence becomes a force. Your movement becomes a statement. Your vision becomes undeniable. You don't knock on doors. You build your own entrances. The distinction between dreamers and dominators? Dreamers hope. Dominators decide. They don't wait for calm. They make progress through storms. They don't seek comfort. They chase clarity. And clarity is found in movement. You don't discover who you are by sitting still. You learn through action. When you move with precision, every misstep becomes a lesson, not a reason to stop. You adjust. You evolve. But you don't pause. You don't hand the steering wheel to doubt or hesitation. Your road might be rough, but it's yours. And that's where freedom lives, not in perfection, but in deliberate, focused progress. Sometimes the loudest shackles are internal. The voice that whispers, you're not ready, you need permission, who do you think you are? That voice is lying. And if you listen, it'll shrink your life. That's why precision matters. When your eyes are on your goal, there's no space left for fear. When you're focused on the next step, anxiety can't take root. You can't be manipulated by rejection if you no longer ask for validation. You can't be stopped by judgment if your mission outgrows their opinions. They might not get it. That's fine. They weren't assigned your vision. You were, so honor it, walk in it, own it. Greatness doesn't scream, "Here I am." It shows up in consistent actions, in intentional decisions, in the kind of discipline that doesn't need recognition to keep going. Every time you move without waiting for praise, you gain strength, you gain clarity, you gain momentum. Don't act for attention, act for impact. Don't speak to be heard, speak to create change. Don't move to please, move to fulfill purpose. When you adopt precision as your posture, you stop reacting and start leading. You stop chasing and start creating. And soon enough, the world will catch up to what you already knew. You were always powerful. You were always ready. You just stopped asking for permission to be who you already are. From now on, don't wait. Choose who you are, choose what you want, and move. Even if they doubt, even if they laugh, even if no one notices. Because eventually they'll notice. And they'll realize you never needed them to begin with. That's power, that's presence, that's precision. You don't demand respect, you embody it. You don't wait for your turn, you take it. With grace, with fire, with unwavering focus. Because once you know your worth, you never walk quietly again. They don't let pain paralyze them. They let it sharpen their focus. You've got to stop viewing failure as a finish line. It's not a dead end. It's a detour full of instructions. When you stumble, when something collapses, when life shuts a door in your face, that's not rejection, it's redirection. The most resilient people in the world aren't the ones who had a smooth journey. They're the ones who turn their wounds into weapons. They stared at the chaos and declared, "I will not break, I will build. I will not panic, I will prepare." The difference between the defeated and the dangerous is this: defeated people stay down. Dangerous people rise with more focus, more fire, and a smarter plan. When a door slams shut, you don't sit and weep at its feet forever. You study why it closed, you analyze its design, you figure out how to construct your own doorway. That's strategy. Setbacks aren't designed to destroy you, they exist to reveal what needs reinforcing. If you lost something, ask yourself why. If you were denied something, ask what that pain is pointing toward. Because pain always has a purpose. Struggle conceals answers. You can either sit among the ruins of what collapsed or rise from those ruins with a refined blueprint, but that choice is yours. You must decide, will this define me or refine me? What separates the leaders from the spectators is how they respond when life strikes them hard. Do they point fingers? Do they surrender? Or do they retreat inward, recalibrate, and return sharper? That's where true strength is born, in the comeback. And not just any rebound, a strategic one. You assess the failure, you locate the weakness, you realign the movement. You don't repeat, you reinvent. You don't react, you redesign. You stare the issue down like a tactician and say, let's make this make sense. You turn every why me into what now. You turn your tears into tools. That's how winners function. They don't waste suffering, they weaponize it. Sometimes your setback is the universe cracking your comfort zone open. Maybe you were drifting, maybe you were compromising, maybe you forgot your own power, and it took that loss, that betrayal, that closed door to wake you back up, to force a realignment. Setbacks have a strange way of reconnecting you with your original fire. Think of it like this: a bow has to be drawn backward before it can launch the arrow forward. Maybe you're not being torn apart. Maybe you're being positioned. Let that shift your perspective. Let it reawaken the strategist within you. You've got to become a student of your own resistance. Every time life places a weight on you, ask yourself, what is this trying to show me? Maybe you lack consistency. Maybe your circle needs an upgrade. Maybe you've been leaning on outside validation when you should have been anchored in self-trust. Strategy isn't always about changing the world around you. Sometimes the biggest transformation comes from altering your internal response. Life will test you over and over, not to defeat you, but to develop you. Every test you pass becomes a tool in your arsenal. You move with more precision. You carry more assurance. You become unshakable. Setbacks turn into staircases when you walk on them with strategy. Let me hit you with something real. Setbacks don't just sting, they humble. And humility is where real wisdom begins. You start hearing things differently. You start paying attention to the small details. You slow your pace, not to stop, but to make sure you're moving in the right direction. There's beauty in that. There's unmatched strength in that. The storm wasn't sent to drown you. It came to teach you how to swim in deeper waters. Every world-class leader, every true champion, every icon who changed the game went through moments where it all seemed to fall apart. But they rebuilt, not with the same perspective, but with one forged in adversity, armed with intention, and guided by strategy. And that's exactly how you're going to rise. So don't let your pain go to waste. Don't let your breakdown be in vain. There's a manual hidden in your mess. You've got to go into the rubble, recover the gems, and rise stronger. Because that's what power looks like. It's not about a flawless path. It's about having the grit to make your suffering your syllabus, to turn your scars into systems and your setbacks into strategies. When people witness how you navigated the chaos, how you walked through the flames and came out with wisdom in your hands, that's when they'll realize you weren't just surviving, you were designing, you were training, you were becoming untouchable. Be unpredictable, make no rhythm easy to follow. In a world addicted to routine and patterns, there is unstoppable strength in being the one no one can decode. When people can predict your next move, they gain control. Without even lifting a hand, they study your behaviors, they anticipate your reactions. Suddenly, you're no longer steering, you're being steered. But when you choose unpredictability, when you reject the scripts and sidestep the expected, you become immune to their control. You become the wild card they can't catch. Your rivals can't duplicate what they can't understand. Your enemies can't strike what they can't track. The secret to maintaining the upper hand in any room, any situation, any conflict is mystery. And mystery is born from movement that isn't mapped out for the world to follow. You show up with stillness when they expect noise, with power when they expect vulnerability, with strategy when they expect confusion. That's unpredictability, and that's dominance. Don't confuse unpredictability with recklessness. It's not about chaos, it's about chess. It's about intentional misdirection. You're not unstable, you're unreadable. Most people live on a loop, same habits, same thoughts, same responses. That makes them easy to manage, easy to corner. But when you disrupt your patterns, when you start reacting differently, people lose their grip. That's where your real advantage starts to grow. Walk away when they assume you'll chase. Stay silent when they expect a meltdown. Win quietly while they wait to celebrate your downfall. Be calm when they want chaos. Let your peace be the curveball. The world expects reaction. Give them restraint. The world expects routine. Give them innovation. That's how you take control. Not through domination, but through unpredictability. Because when you become unreadable, you become unstoppable. People won't know how to approach you. They won't know where you stand. They won't see your next move coming. And that confusion is your cloak. That silence becomes your shield. That unpredictability becomes your sword. Stop handing out maps to your intentions. Stop giving people step-by-step access to your next chapter. Keep them guessing. Make them work for your clarity. Stay a step ahead, and in their hesitation, you rise. Even those closest to you may not mean harm, but most will misuse predictability. They'll take advantage of your patterns. That's why being unpredictable isn't just about confusing enemies. It's about protecting yourself. It forces people to pause before they assume. It makes them respect your space, your silence, your moves. Being unpredictable also strengthens your inner world. It proves that you're no longer tethered to people's approval. It shows that you're no longer a slave to reaction. You've moved from emotion to intention. You don't follow noise, you follow purpose. You walk into a room not needing validation because your presence speaks for itself. You don't shout, you shift the atmosphere. That's how you own your space. That's how you command attention, without ever needing to ask for it. The unpredictable version of you is dangerous because the old you was easy to manage. The old you reacted on cue. The old you wore emotions on your sleeve. But the new you, the evolved you watch more, you reveal less, you respond on your terms. You lead from within. You've detached from needing to explain yourself, from needing to be seen at all times. You've traded approval for awareness. You're thinking clearer. You're moving differently. And that difference, it's noticeable. Even in warfare, unpredictability is the highest form of strategy. Think like a commander, not a foot soldier. A commander never exposes their full strategy. They mislead, they reroute, they create confusion, and strike with clarity. That's you now. Stop gifting people shortcuts to your emotions. Stop laying out your vision for people who haven't earned your trust. Guard your next move like it's gold, because it is. Unpredictability doesn't just make you harder to manipulate, it makes you impossible to control. You no longer walk into rooms needing to be understood. You walk in as someone who has already understood themselves. And those who truly respect you, they'll honor your mystery. They won't demand constant explanation. They'll respect your evolution, even when they don't fully grasp it. Every revolutionary, every icon, every world shifter in history was unpredictable. They rose because they didn't follow the template. They didn't color inside the lines. They showed up differently. They thought differently. They moved differently. Unpredictability is not a flaw. It's a feature, a design, a deliberate choice to remain in control of your story. And in a world that profits from your predictability, your unpredictability becomes your greatest form of power. When no one knows your next move, they can't interfere. When no one can forecast your growth, they can't hinder it. Move like water, adaptable, fierce, untouchable. You don't just escape the trap, you are the storm that shatters it. So stop feeling sorry for being unreadable. That's not a flaw, it's intelligence. Be kind but never predictable. Be steady but never routine. Be powerful but not loud. You don't owe anyone the blueprint to your spirit. Let your next step be a mystery. Let them wonder. Let them wait. Because real power doesn't shout, it whispers. It's calculated, it's unseen. And when the timing is perfect, when they least expect it, when the world assumes you've plateaued, you rise without warning, without pattern, without permission. That's how kings operate. That's how icons are born. That's how real power is secured, not just by force, but by mystery, by restraint, by the divine precision of being unpredictable. Win without exposing the battle. There's another kind of strength, the type that doesn't need to broadcast itself. It doesn't wave flags. It doesn't yell to be noticed. It's the quiet authority of those who move silently, whose victories are invisible until they're undeniable. True strength isn't loud. The loudest voice in the room often belongs to the weakest soul. The one always seeking to prove something usually has nothing of substance. But when you walk in quiet certainty, rooted in deep self-belief, you don't chase applause, you don't need external confirmation, you don't need to reveal the war, because you've already won on a higher level. Let them doubt you, let them misjudge you. That's your edge. They can't guard against an enemy they can't see, so play the long game. Stay focused, stay silent, and when the smoke clears, they'll be left standing in a battlefield they didn't even know you passed through, and you'll be the only one still standing. The mistake most people make is assuming that strength must always be loud. That's shallow thinking. Real strength is rooted in calm. It's the control not to react when your pride is poked. It's the stability to remain grounded when everything shakes around you. It's the peace within when your name is being dragged, and yet you refuse to crawl in the dirt, because the moment you drop to their level, you've already lost the war. So they want you upset, they want you chaotic, they want you emotional. Why? Because emotions cloud judgment, and when you lose your cool, you lose your power. So instead, you smile, you nod, you move forward, silently, strategically, unseen. That's real power. It doesn't fight pointless battles. Life will test you. People will betray you. They'll talk, lie, provoke, and the world will tempt you to react, respond, clap back, expose them. But that's not the path of the wise. That's not the path of the powerful. You don't respond to ants when you're walking among giants. You don't stop to bark back at every dog when you're headed for the throne. Silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. It's choosing which battles matter. It's allowing the rest to fade into irrelevance. Your energy is sacred. Don't waste it proving what time will reveal anyway, because at the end, truth doesn't need defense. It stands firm on its own. There is force in letting your progress speak louder than your pain, in letting your discipline silence their noise. Let your evolution be the response. Let your tranquility be your answer. Let your character, refined in solitude, tested in silence, be louder than any argument. Your silence isn't surrender, it's preparation. While they argue, you're advancing. While they mock, you're mastering. While they watch, you're working. War doesn't need an audience, and true warriors don't fight for claps. They fight for legacy, and legacy isn't formed by shouting. It's shaped by unshakable focus and quiet resilience. The highest level of power is self-discipline. And self-discipline means you no longer need to show people who you are. They'll feel it. When you enter a room, your presence, your focus, your achievements, they'll speak for you. That's why it's dangerous to challenge someone who doesn't feel the need to be loud. They've been through fire. They've seen storms you wouldn't survive. They've bled in silence. They've healed in solitude, and now they walk with the gravity of wisdom and the quiet confidence of someone who's already conquered. You don't need to prove yourself to people who are blind to value. You don't need to explain your path to those who never had the vision. You just keep building, keep leveling up, and let silence craft your legacy. Have you noticed? The most dangerous ones are always the quiet ones. It's no cliche, it's truth rooted in refinement. The ones who observe more than they speak. The ones who don't crave attention. The ones who leave chaos behind without leaving a trace. They're not avoiding the battle, they've already counted the cost. They know some shots fired don't deserve an answer. Some deserve silence. Some deserve the knowing smirk of a man who's already won. That's how you dominate. Not by swinging at every shadow, but by shining so bright they can't hide from your light. You rise while they rant. You flourish while they stumble. You conquer without ever declaring a war. To win without revealing the war, you must master control. That means ignoring shallow opinions. That means guarding your circle with intention. That means releasing the urge to explain your purpose to people who never saw your potential. You move in silence because your mission is louder than your voice. You move with purpose, not emotion. And when you do this consistently, people notice. They see something different in you. You're not easily rattled. You're not desperate to be seen. You're not swayed by attention. That's because you're anchored. You're committed. You've tasted purpose. And now, no amount of noise can derail you. This mentality changes everything. The way you move, the way you talk, the way you respond. You stop reacting to disrespect. You rise above it. You stop chasing people. You attract what belongs. You stop arguing. You observe. That's a level most never touch because they're still reacting, still seeking validation, still trying to win conversations instead of winning in life. But the ones who ascend beyond that noise, they create a silence so powerful it shakes foundations. They leave a legacy not through words, but through impact. Their story isn't told through chatter, it's told through consistency, results, and discipline. And that kind of story, it outlives rumors, it outlives criticism, it stands forever. Here's the hard truth. If they can provoke you, they can control you. But when you stop responding, you stop being their puppet. You break the pattern. You rewrite the rules. That space between their action and your silence, that's where your power lives. That's where storms settle. That's where you become untouchable. Because the person who cannot be provoked cannot be beaten. They move from values, not vanity. They act from vision, not wounds. They win not just by climbing, but by never allowing themselves to be pulled down. That doesn't mean you're numb. It doesn't mean you're unfeeling. It means you've chosen your mission over your mood. You've chosen vision over vengeance. And that decision, to stay centered in a world that thrives on chaos, that's the real war. That's the battle most people lose. But not you, because now you understand the loudest noise comes from the weakest roots, and the strongest warriors are the most composed. They've learned that peace isn't passivity, it's power. And dominance isn't about crushing others. It's about steering your direction so clearly that no attack, no betrayal, no slight can shake your course. So let them look, let them talk, let them speculate. That's good. That means they have no clue. That means your path is secure. That means your rise is happening in silence. And when your breakthrough comes, when your work finally speaks, when your success becomes visible, there'll be no need for explanations, just proof, just results, just victory. And they'll look around in disbelief, asking, how did he do it? The answer, it was all in the silence. You won the battle they didn't even see. And that, my friend, is how you move with wisdom. That's how you dominate without noise. That's how you become legendary, by playing the game without ever being loud. So now walk forward, silent, centered, unshakable. The world won't see the battle, but they will feel the triumph. How to outsmart anyone, not out of ego, not to crush others, but to rise above the games they play. To become so centered, so composed, so intentional that no one can drag you into their chaos. Because dominance isn't noise, it's clarity. It's the man who doesn't crack under pressure, the woman who doesn't fold when the heat turns up. It's the spirit that keeps moving forward even when the entire world tries to hold it back. You were told to control your emotions because if you don't, they will control you. That's where discipline begins. Power without control is just destruction. You must learn to master what's inside before attempting to move what's outside. The real game changer isn't the one who shouts the loudest, it's the one who stays calm when the storm rages the hardest. That's what separates leaders from followers, kings from pawns, titans from the average. Then you were reminded, learn everything but speak little. That's the weapon they never anticipate. Your silence is your quiet preparation. While they chatter, you study. While they guess, you observe. While they rush, you calculate. You absorb everything like a sponge, but you only speak when it counts. You don't waste your words. When you do speak, the room listens. That is influence. That is power with intention. You were told to stop asking for permission and start moving with precision. Too many people wait for a green light that never comes. But you light your own way. You don't wait to be selected. You don't beg for a seat at the table. You build your own table. Because nothing changes until you decide it's time to move. And when you move with purpose, strategy, and sharp intent, no door can stay closed. No gatekeeper can hold you back. They won't understand you, and that's exactly the point. When the world throws setbacks your way, you don't collapse, you adapt. You turn every loss into a lesson, every betrayal into a blueprint, every closed door into a fresh design. You were never meant to be stopped. You were meant to be redirected. Setbacks aren't punishments, they're preparation. They sharpen you, humble you, force you to look deeper and climb higher. You take that pain and alchemize it into power. You don't just bounce back, you bounce forward, wiser and sharper. Then comes the secret that breaks every pattern. Be unpredictable. Let them think they've figured you out. Let them build a script in their minds about how you'll respond. Then flip the entire narrative. Move in ways they can't calculate. Disappear when they expect a show. Speak when they expect silence. Build when they expect you to break. Because when people can't predict you, they can't control you. You stay dangerous by staying mysterious. Your moves become magic. Your life becomes legend. Finally, the master key. Win without showing the war. That's the penthouse level of this entire game. That's elite level thinking. You don't need to announce your plans, your pain, your victories, or your strategy. You move silently. You train in secret. You evolve in the shadows. And when the light hits, you're already standing on the mountaintop, and they don't even know how you got there. You didn't fight for the crowd. You fought for the crown. Quietly, relentlessly. And now you wear it, not with pride, but with peace. Every lesson you've been given here is a weapon. But the question is, will you wield it? Will you apply it? Will you become the kind of person who doesn't just listen, but leads? The kind who doesn't react, but responds with power? Will you step into a life where no one else defines your worth, your path, or your purpose? This world is full of noise, manipulation, and distractions, but now you know better. Now you walk differently. You're sharper, calmer, stronger, more dangerous, not because of what you say, but because of what you've built in silence. Because of what you've endured without breaking, because of who you've become when no one was watching. So as you walk away from this moment, don't just feel inspired, be transformed. Let these words echo inside your spirit. When doubt creeps in, let them ground you. When the world gets loud, let them elevate you. When people try to pull you down, know this: you are no longer at the mercy of others. You are no longer waiting to be chosen. You are the architect now. The strategist, the quiet storm. Thank you for listening. Thank you for walking this path with me. I hope you walk into your future with your head held high, your soul grounded, and your fire burning. Now go be the force they never saw coming. Go be the calm in the chaos. Go be the silent power that can't be stopped. God bless you. Stay focused, stay fearless, and remember, you don't need to shout to be heard. Your presence, your purpose, your power will speak volumes.